Hey guys, with patch 7.1 officially on the public test realm, I thought I'd give you a brief overview and insight into what is available and what is to come. Now, the first thing I'm going to cover is probably one of the most basic things about this patch, but I felt it was really useful, and that is the introduction of the Blood Trader. Now, the Blood Trader is an NPC that has been introduced into New Dalaran, and I'm referring to New Dalaran as the Dalaran in the Broken Isles. And this is an NPC currently located in the Magma's Commerce Exchange, which is just outside of Tanks for Everything. Now, what this NPC will allow you to do is trade your existing Blood of Sargeras, which is a craftable material, which unfortunately is soulbound, and all you could do at the moment is just sell it to an NPC if you didn't use it for a couple of gold. Instead, you now get to trade it for various crafted materials, and more importantly, order resources. Yes, you can now trade in your Blood of Sargeras for order resources, which to me is a lifesaver because I pretty much just don't craft anything. I just crafted some stuff because I was leveling and that was pretty much it. So I thought that was a fantastic change. Now the next thing I am going to cover is something that got me kind of interested in the in mounts again. Now, I got put off with the whole mount scene for a while after spending so many years farming Karazhan, Tempest Keep. Is it Tempest Keep? Whichever the one is in the Outlands. Yeah, the Tempest Keep. Just over and over and over again, just trying to get these mounts and never getting them. Well, they've now rekindled my interest with the introduction of two mounts. Now, the first one is the one that really kind of confused me. Smolding Emblem Worm, or Smolding Ember Worm, I'll learn to speak one of these days, drops off Nightbane in Karazhan. Now that kind of threw me, and it threw me in the sense it's like, oh wow, this must be one of the new bosses in Karazhan. Nightbane is not one of the new bosses in Karazhan. So where the hell am I getting this mount from? Now, either I'm missing something here, and there's either going to be a world quest boss in the sort of Karazhan zone in Deadwing Pass. There's going to be a rare mob inside the Return to Karazhan new dungeon, or they actually mean in old Karazhan. And by when I say old Karazhan, the actual 10-man raid from the Burning Crusade. Which kind of doesn't really make much sense. They're adding new items to pre-existing bosses from patches that are almost 10 years old. I say patches, expansions are almost 10 years old. I feel like that's wrong. I mean, this is the PTR, so things could be subject to change at all times. But why? I don't get it. I'm not sure. I feel like there's something missing from this. I just don't feel like we're going to be killing Nightbane in the old Karazhan style dungeon. I mean, if we are, that's fine. I'm interested. I'll definitely go and kill him a few times because I definitely want that mount. But either way, there just doesn't seem to be something right there. Now, the next mount is again one that really sort of got me. It's just like, don't do this to me again, Blizzard. I've spent far too much time trying to get it. That's right, Midnight, or the new Midnight. Now, this one is in Return to Karazhan. This is going to be dropped by Attunement the Huntsman, who is the very first boss in the... Is it the very first boss in the Return to Karazhan? No, he's not. He is this one. What's that? 2, 4. That's the 5th boss, potentially. I mean, if you know the existing Karazhan raid, there is no real first boss if it's still got that structure. I've still not been in the new Karazhan yet, and again, I'll come to that briefly. It really would be interesting to see. I just hope the drop rate's not going to be as horrific as the original Midnight, where I would spend... Oh God, I don't even know how many times I've tried to do that. Probably spent the best part of about 4 or 5 years trying to get that mount on and off, and then I got to the point where I just got sick of trying to get mounts, and I kind of stopped farming them. There has been an additional 3 other mounts thrown into the game. Now these aren't related to Karazhan. I'll cover them just very briefly though. Ah, that one doesn't seem to be popping up. Oh yeah, I've got these. Check all. There it is. The Ivory Hawk Shredder. Bugger off, fellas. So essentially, that is a, if I'm correct, it's a mount that obtained from the Quartermaster in High Mountain. And I think you do have to be exalted with the High Mountain tribe for that one. The next one is the Darkwater Skate, which is available in the Dark Moon Island. And I think that is a Dark Moon. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a Dark Moon quest. I don't really know too much about the other mounts apart from the Karazhan mounts. I've just done the very sort of brief overview of all the mounts. And the final mount is the, I think the Arcanist Mana Saber. Yes, and this is actually from a quest. It's from Fate of the Nightborn. And that is a quest done in Sumera. If you know anything about the quest line in Sumera, if you on patch 7.0 got to, well, basically did all the Sumera quests like I have done myself, you'll know there is a kind of like an endpoint to a couple of quest chains that shouldn't, that basically have left those quest chains incomplete. Now I believe it's one of those two quest chains that you obtain that, or a combination of completing those two quest chains and then carrying on that quest chain. If that makes any sense. Probably doesn't. You're probably sitting there thinking, Steve, what the hell are you gibbering on about now? Shut up. And on that note, I'll move on to one of the next points with the PTR. And this is probably the one that most people are interested in. This is going to be covering not just the bosses very briefly, but also more and more importantly, the attunement into Karazhan. Now, we have returned to Karazhan. I'm going to start by saying it is a mythic only dungeon. You are probably going to require an item level of 840 to do it. Unfortunately, I don't have too much more information about this dungeon as of yet. I'm still trying to get attuned on the PTR. It was only released 2 days ago, and I encountered my first issue, which I will cover in this video, on how to subvert that issue when the patch goes live. So we do have, to begin with, Maiden of Virtue. I won't go completely through all the mechanics of the boss fight because I'm going to sort of do that one at a time, and I will actually try and do these boss fights before trying to cover the mechanics, because obviously there's a bit of information, and without actually doing these fights you're not going to know too much about them. But she is a pre-existing boss fight. Opera Hall Wicket. There's the Opera Hall Westfall Story. The Opera Hall Beautiful Beast. Now that's definitely a new... Why the hell is that a Murloc with a wig on? Okay then. That is a strong look. I do hope they do make that like a skin for your character, because I would definitely use that skin. That is a strong look for a Murloc. That is probably one of the best character models I've seen in this game. Sorry, continuing. We have Opera Hall, Beautiful Beast. I do like Mrs. Cauldron. Oh, Mrs. Cauldron's. That is a good character model. As you'd expect, Attunement the Huntsman. God, I hate that guy. And with his trusted colleague, Nightman. Nightman? Midnight? What the hell am I reading? Moors. Oh, God, Moors. That was always the testing point of a raid party back in the original Burning Crusade Karazhan days. Damn, I hate that boss. The Curator, he was always a pain in the ass, but you could always do really good DPS on him when he did his weird phase where he just started blasting mana or whatever the hell it was. Shade of Medivh. Oh god, they're not going to make us play chess again. Oh hell no, I hate those chess games. The Mana Devourer. Who, that's definitely a new boss. And that is a new boss. Right, I'm going to have a crack at this. Vizadum the Watcher. I think I've pronounced it right. Vizadum? Vizadum? It's going to be one of those two, or close to, or probably miles off. He looks like a badass. Does he drop any fancy loot? Ooh, that's a nice trinket. Ah, that was the other thing I did want to mention, but I kind of forgot, that all the mythic items now dropped in Karazhan drop an item level of 855, rather than your traditional 840. I'm not sure if it applies to the Mythic Warforged or Mythic Titan Forge, which could potentially boost it to 860 or 865. I still have to verify that. I just know that this place hits like an absolute truck. Ooh, Sunfire's back. Did not know that. Sweet. That was one hell of an item enhancement. Oh god, they're Mongoose. Ooh, please tell me they're bringing back Executioner. Where's Executioner? No! No Executioner! What are they playing at? That's gotta come at a later date. They've really gotta... Mongoose is coming back though. Oh man, back in Burning Crusade, that was like every rogue's wet dream for item enchants. Oh, and Sunfire, brilliant. Now, to kind of cover what you really need to do to get into Karazhan, which is really just like a kick in the teeth to a lot of players, I'm gonna have to show you and break the bad news to you. But this is kind of good information. It'll allow you to get prepared, because I wasn't fully prepared. So this is kind of why I can't do Karazhan on the public test realm, and why a lot of people can't at the moment. First things first, go to your class hall. I'm a warrior, so I've got to get to Skyhold. You're gonna be a bit disappointed when you see this, unless you actually do. Yeah, you completely ignore that. It's just a bug with the current interface at the moment. Now, if you do your class hall missions, that's great. Great for you. You're gonna do all right in the beginning of this patch. If you're kind of a casual person like myself, not so much. What the hell's going on with that one? Now, to get into Karazhan, you have to complete the garrison mission, What Lurks Beneath the Tower. Yes, that's right, that does say 850 champion level required. And this is what starts basically this item starts the whole quest chain. The Head of Tarzul. Now there is one quest you can pick up from the sort of like dungeon bit in Karazhan, which actually, have I got it? I think I've already cashed it in. I'll try and show you shortly. But essentially, you are going to need to have at least 3 characters or maybe 2 characters and a couple of Shield Maidens contribute to it. Actually, Shield Maiden, that's 30%. That's pretty good. I reckon you could potentially do that with 2 Shield Maidens and a very high level. Yeah, it'll let you start it. So ideally, you potentially want 2 Shield Maidens, or obviously whatever NPCs that you have, or whatever troops that you use for your specific class, plus 1 very high level champion. And when I say very high level, it's you've got to get near that 850 mark. Now you're only after 100% or as close to. I mean, I'm going to give that a try, see what it's worth. I mean, you're wasting 1,000 order resources every time you attempt that. I'm just chucking it in just to see if I can do it at 30%. I mean, you might not need 100% to get to it. I mean, obviously it's a percentage chance to actually complete the mission, so 30% might be enough. So any random character, and I think I probably could have got to about 45% or maybe even 60% with, yeah, 2 Shield Maidens. I'm going to have to revisit this and see if I can find an easier way around it. Anyway, on to Karazhan.
Death cannot stop me.
Now, basically, the portals in the public test realm seem a bit screwed up at the moment, and all the portals seem to be sending me back to Dalaran, as in the new Dalaran. So I'm going to see if I can get to Deadwing Pass another way quickly. Now this is essentially just a very quick way of me getting to Deadwing Pass. I'm going to just go to Ogrimmar and then Blasted Lands? Is it Blasted Lands? I think it's Blasted Lands. I'm going to have to tell you very shortly when I actually... It is Blasted Lands. Man, I do remember stuff well. Now you possibly might not have to do this on the live servers, because they might have either fixed that or that might now be the only way to get to the Deadwing Pass. There was a portal in that zone to take you to the Deadwing Pass, but every time I took it, it just took me straight to kind of New Dalaran. So what we're doing now is we are going to the Deadwing Pass to see what changes have actually been made to Karazhan. Now I say that, I have actually already been there and I have seen what changes are there, and it's not massive changes. It will probably throw a few people at first where there is kind of new zones. Now don't get too sidetracked with what was the Warlock zone in Deadwing Pass. I think that's still the Warlock zone and it's still exclusively the Warlock zone, so kind of leave that be. I will show you what I mean by Warlock zone very shortly. Right, so we're at Karazhan. As you can see, still looks like Karazhan. You will notice there is now level 110 mobs flying around, so it's no longer the level 70 friendly zone it used to be. You come here as level 70, you are going to get cheesed. Right, this is what I mean by the Warlock zone. There is a portcullis down here, and inside there I believe you do a Warlock sort of artifact weapon quest chain, or I certainly did. I think it was a Warlock anyway. But that's not what we're interested in. If I'm correct, that is still exclusively Warlock territory. You will now notice there are mob level 110 dotted around the place. So that is now one of the bigger changes for that. And also, this is the more interesting thing, there is two kind of, I think they're new, but I also think there used to be sort of like smaller zones down here. Two sort of cellars. If you go into either of the cellars, you'll notice the floor's caved in. When you go a bit more down into the caved in floor, you enter a smaller zone. Now this is the Master's Cellar, and this is actually where you pick up a quest. I can't remember off the top of my head which quest that was. I think I've already done it, so I can't pick it up again. There is a couple of big chunky NPCs down here. Basically, this is where you do your sort of like attunement quest once you actually have... Yeah, I did. Basically, there is a quest here which you can pick up without being attuned. You'll notice that this big firewall here, and Tharzul is sitting there. Wasn't it the head of Tharzul that we basically needed the quest for? Yep, that's who you have to come down here and cheese on. This place also hits really hard. I can imagine when you're on that attunement quest you actually have better access to him. Now technically, if you go up to that firewall, you can pull him. Because I tried that before and he did actually come out to me. So that's one of two places that has been introduced into Karazhan to highlight, well, to highlight that has been changed with patch 7.1. Now the second place is again actually another cellar. I'm still yet to confirm the actual true entrance into the Karazhan dungeon as well. I feel like it's going to be either one of these two entrances rather than the pre-existing Karazhan dungeon. Now once again, we're in the Master's Cellar, except this time, slightly different layout. I'm going to have to kill these before I end up dying down here. There you go, full off, that'll do. Right, this is the second new zone. Again, various elites, plenty of Legion, lots of portals. Now, I think there's a quest in this zone. I'm not 100% sure, but I did see something somewhere about 2 quests. I'm not seeing anything crop up on the map, so I'm leading to believe that there is no second quest. The only quest is in the other Master Cellar. This is where I'm going to get cheesed on to hell. So now one of the quests here is going to be to shut down these demon portals. And that is basically it with the new Karazhan zones. Now, the other things that you possibly might interest you with patch 7.1, there's not much information about it, but you may or may not know, especially if you're a big Blizzard fan, is that Diablo's 20th anniversary is coming up soon. Now, you know what that means. Every time that some game has an anniversary or has a sort of big patch or big change or something, Blizzard like to promote it slightly in other games. Trust me, World of Warcraft is going to be included in those. And there's not, like I said, there's not much more information I've seen around that, so that's something to look forward to. Now, another thing with patch 7.1, which I have seen, but again have not seen too much information about, is the Raiding with Leashes 4 Wrath of the Lich King. Now, what the brief outline of this is, basically, Raiding with Leashes 4 Wrath of the Lich King sends you back to your favourite Wrath bosses, including the Lich King, for 2 pets. So essentially, I feel like, if I'm right, that one is to obtain some pets from killing legacy bosses. Now, there has been various other changes to talents, leveling abilities and so forth, but I'm not going to cover them in this video. This is more just a brief overview of the sort of features, functionalities and various bits and pieces that have changed throughout Legion. The last thing I am going to cover is the start quest to one of the new raids that's going to be coming in patch 7.1, and that is, I think, the I can't remember the top of my head. Let's find it. Home raid Trial of Valor. That's the one. Now there is kind of like a mini attunement quest for this as well. This mini attunement quest is started in the Crassus Landing. If you speak to Moonin, he tells you to go and speak to Harvey. Now, I'm not going to ruin this because it's a bit of a spoiler what happens when you go and speak to Harvey. So I'm going to leave that there. The quest chain is really not complicated and it's quite straightforward. But other than that, that's kind of patch 7.1 in a nutshell. I might do some smaller videos later on which will outline various different things about patch 7.1. But either way, I hope you found this video helpful and useful. I'd appreciate it if you liked, shared, subscribed, and I'll catch you later. Peace out, guys.